This is really popular. I used to think this was only good for topical use, and I was wrong. Like, embarrassingly wrong. But I wasn't looking at the right research. And once I did, I was pretty blown away. If you want to know what this stuff really does, watch this video. Today we're deep diving on GHK-Copper. By the end of this video, you'll understand what happens to your body's repair system as you age, how GHK-Copper could fit into this process, and why it's not just a beauty peptide. It's so much more. We're also going to talk about the risks and safety concerns because I'm a real doctor and that kind of thing matters. And we're going to talk about what the FDA is reevaluating this peptide specifically for and what that means for you and I. So what even is GHK-Copper? Well, if you get around and talk to people, or you go to a med spa and get some GHK-Copper or Glow Blend, which is GHK-Copper mixed with BPC 157 and TB 500, well, they're selling it to you for its proposed skin benefits. And man, have I talked to so many people who use it saying their skin just feels plumper. Interestingly, that goes away when they stop the peptide. But here's what GHK-Copper is and why it's so much more than a skin peptide. So you make GHK naturally. It's 3 amino acids that float around in the bloodstream and grab onto copper. But here's the first thing that blew my mind learning about this peptide. See, GHK is a breakdown product of type 1 collagen, the most abundant collagen that we have in our bodies. It's also part of a protein that sits on the collagen called spark. When your body goes to remodel collagen or heal a wound, enzymes go in and start chopping up the old collagen and the spark protein. And one of the fragment byproducts of that chopping up process is GHK. And when this happens, GHK gets released into the bloodstream and immediately seeks out copper. And it does this with such a high chemical affinity that it can literally steal copper ions off of albumin, your body's main transport protein in the blood. Well, GHK goes and wraps itself around that copper ion and becomes GHK-Copper. And that complex is a messenger. It's a signal and a key that fits into a very specific lock and opens up a world of possibility. But get this, this is not fair. By the age of 60, we have about 60% less GHK in our bloodstream. 60% of your body's primary tissue repair signal is gone. And this isn't just a coincidence of aging, it's actually a cause of it too. Let me tell you how. So interestingly, over time, as we age, our collagen gets kind of stiffer and glued together. And then the enzymes that come in when it's remodeling and healing time, well, they can't really work through that glue. The GHK is still in there, it just can't get out. And less GHK means less copper reaching repair sites. And without copper, you can't repair collagen. So what if you could just add GHK or GHK-Copper into the body? Well, regardless of how you get it. Well, once GHK-Copper is in your system, it does several things. And this is what makes it unlike almost any other peptide that I have studied. Well, first, it delivers copper exactly where enzymes need it, specifically enzymes that help with antioxidant defense, another enzyme that cross-links collagen and elastin into strong, organized collagen instead of weak or disorganized collagen that can lead to things like tendinosis or chronic tendon pain. And it helps build new blood vessels, which is how wounds get their nutrient supply. GHK-Copper also acts as a genetic messenger. The GHK peptide itself, without the copper, signals cell receptors in a way that literally changes gene expression. Researchers have found that GHK-Copper influences over 4,000 human genes. That's 30% of the human genome. GHK has been shown to turn up genes involved in DNA repair, antioxidant defense, protein synthesis, stem cell activity. Specifically, it's been shown to tell skin cells to behave as if they're young again. GHK has also been shown to turn down pro-inflammatory genes, genes associated with cancer progression, genes driving the kind of low-grade destruction that underlies a lot of the aging process. And the cool thing is those effects don't disappear when the molecule does. The half-life of GHK-Copper in your bloodstream is about 30 minutes to an hour. But the epigenetic changes, the flipped switches in the DNA, those last for days. And those are more like cumulative changes, not just immediate, like the skin plumping. we actually have quite a bit of research on GHK-Copper. We've got a human study showing that topical GHK-Copper increased skin density and thickness. It's been shown to outperform vitamin C and retinoic acid in collagen stimulation. We've got animal studies showing GHK-Copper dramatically accelerating wound healing. And the FDA is pulling GHK-Copper off of the do not compound list, or the ban on peptides list right now, because of this. Injectable GHK-Copper, at least. We have cellular studies showing GHK-Copper helping to signal cells to repair their own DNA instead of becoming senescent cells, which are kind of like cockroach cells. They should die, but they don't, right? Oh, and there's really cool research on this happening in hair follicles, bringing them back to life using a serum. Hang on. I'm back. Bringing them back to life using a serum like this one, which I have been playing with and have been very pleased. I don't think you can see the little tiny hairs that have been growing on my forehead, but there's a link for this one in particular in the description if you want that one. The FDA is also evaluating GHK-Copper for COPD and emphysema, specifically for its potential to downregulate runaway collagen that leads to lung tissue fibrosis or scarring. And that is a disease space where we have almost no good options right now. More recently, research shows GHK-Copper may activate something called SIRT1, which is often called the longevity gene, and it's showing that it can reduce systemic inflammation markers like IL-6. Are you excited yet? And while I was doing this research, I started thinking, well, how do you know if you actually need extra copper? Well, it's not easy to tell if you're copper depleted, but these are some of the more obvious signs. Some examples are iron deficiency that doesn't respond to iron, since you need copper in order to move iron into your red blood cells, tingling in the hands and the feet, low white blood cell counts, and if you take a lot of zinc, as zinc is a popular supplement. It got really popular when its benefits for testosterone support came around. Well, that could be blocking your ability to absorb copper. And it goes both ways. So supplementing a lot of zinc can deplete your copper, but long-term high-dose copper supplementation, including using GHK-Copper, can deplete zinc too. Serious users report using 15 to 30 milligrams of zinc alongside using GHK-Copper. And that's not medical advice, that's just something that I've seen. Oh, and just FYI, none of this is medical advice. I am just a doctor on YouTube. I am not your doctor. Okay, not all delivery methods are equal, but GHK-Copper has been allowable for use in creams and serums because it's very small and can be absorbed topically through skin. Someone recently asked me about inhaling it the other day, and while I know it would physically work, well, I don't know. Has anybody tried sniffing this? Did it burn like the injections? Let me know in the comments. But injectable is the other way people use it. And this is the way that the FDA is reevaluating right now. So if you watch this in 2027 or later, hopefully it's been approved. And I just mentioned this briefly, but if I don't outright say it, I'll hear about it in the comments. Injectable GHK-Copper has a reputation of stinging. There are two reasons for this. First, GHK-Copper sits in a very acidic pH to stay stable in the vial, and when it hits your neutral pH tissue, your nerve endings can get irritated. Secondly, the local influx of copper into the skin can trigger a brief inflammatory response. And I'll let you discuss that further in the comments. Now, the FDA is going to reevaluate injectable GHK-Copper specifically for regenerative wound healing, dermal atrophy in elderly and steroid-dependent patients, COPD and lung remodeling, and hair follicle restoration. And like I said, I have been rubbing it on my hairline for that reason, along with some plasma injections, and I'm impressed. All right, the biggest safety concerns regarding GHK-Copper is the copper overload, the zinc deficiency, and also the question of angiogenesis, or the making of new blood vessels, which could potentially feed a tumor that needs new blood vessels. Seems to be a theme with peptides and safety concerns. I'm not sure if it's valid or not. Nobody is. That's my deep dive on GHK-Copper. I'm Dr. Ashley Frazee. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this purple peptide. It was well worth the deep dive. If you like this video, please hit like for me and subscribe to my channel, and I'll keep doing it. I hope you have the best day.